Xiaomi's annual imaging powerhouse. The continuous optical zoom periscope telephoto on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, compared to the dual focal length single lens telephoto of the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra. What exactly is the difference? Which one performs better? You'll find out after watching this teardown. The Xiaomi 17 Ultra just went on sale today. I spent 7,099 yuan to buy the 16 plus 512GB version to review and tear it down for you. The one I picked is the starry green colorway. It looks like a dark forest green. Let's shine some light on it to see the effect. From certain angles, you can indeed see these shimmering starry spots. As for the lenses, this generation, they now feature a symmetrical center axis design. It looks a bit like a butterfly resting on the deco. Yes, it looks much cleaner and more symmetrical than the previous 15 Ultra. Why is it so well organized? Mainly because the 17 Ultra has one fewer lens than the 15 Ultra. The reason for having one less lens is our focus today. Continuous optical zoom periscope telephoto on the 17 Ultra. The side buttons have been changed to circular summy keys as a tribute to Leica. They actually look quite exquisite. Now, some sharp-eyed viewers might say, isn't this a tribute to the damn iPhone 4S? Indeed, comparing them, they are even exactly the same size. But here is the thing, guys, the iPhone 4S was actually paying tribute to Leica's camera design. Anyway, let's power it on first. Nothing else matters. Let's first test the effect of this continuous optical zoom. Let's take a shot of this Spider-Man figure. Look at the interface. The continuous optical zoom range is indicated by a frosted glass effect. It covers the 75mm to 100mm range. That is, continuous optical zoom between 3.2x and 4.3x. Now, let's take a look at the visual comparison between the maximum and minimum focal lengths of the continuous optical zoom. This is 3.2x, and this is 4.3x. 3.2x, 4.3x. It just so happens that I have a Huawei Pura 80 Ultra on hand, so let's check out the effect of Huawei's dual focal periscope. Huawei's zoom only has two fixed stages, one at 3.7x and the other at 9.4x. Any focal length between 3.7x and 9.4x is achieved through digital cropping. When slowly adjusting the zoom, you can still see noticeable transitions during lens switching. In contrast, Xiaomi's zoom shows no switching artifacts at all. After all, Xiaomi's solution is hardware level, and the advantage is clear. Next, let's compare Huawei's maximum and minimum zoom images. There seems to be some cropping here. It is 9.4x, cropped directly to 10 times. Let's get a general idea. Here is 3.7x, and 10 times. 3.7x, 10 times. Okay, that covers the exterior and features for now. So, what does the internal structure of the 17 Ultra look like? Are the components high quality? Let's get straight into the teardown. First, use a suction tool to lift the back cover. Then, use an opening pick to slice through the adhesive along the edges. Despite its IP69 rating, the back cover is actually relatively easy to remove. The back cover of the 17 Ultra is made of fiberglass. Xiaomi has mostly transitioned to fiberglass for its back covers this year. The benefit is that it is extremely lightweight and shatter resistant. Setting everything else aside, the size of this periscope telephoto module is truly massive. Alright guys, let's start by rating this internal structure on a scale of 1 to 91. What score would you give it? Xiaomi's internal design is quite clean and organized. Let's remove the motherboard cover first, to see what is happening inside. Once the cover is off, we can see that the top speaker is actually integrated directly into the motherboard cover. It has an AAC technology, 1014E model, which is the same as the one in the Xiaomi 17 Pro. The motherboard cover also houses the flash, an ambient light sensor, a rear microphone, and a laser autofocus module. This strip below is the NFC coil. The NFC coil on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is positioned slightly lower, so keep that in mind when tapping for payments. The wireless charging power this time is 50W, which is slightly lower than the 80W on the previous 15 Ultra. However, the reverse wireless charging has been upgraded to 20W, which is much higher than the previous generation, S5W. Okay, let's remove the camera module first. First, the main camera uses a domestically produced 1-inch Light Hunter 1050L sensor. It's physically massive. Moreover, compared to the previous Lit 900, it has a key advantage, support for low-fic technology. Simply put, when shooting very bright scenes in the past, if the capacitor reached its capacity, the image would be overexposed. Low-fic technology, on the other hand, is like adding an auxiliary cup next to the capacitor to catch the overflowing charge. This way, the dynamic range of the photo is significantly increased. Moving on to the ultra-wide lens, it is the Samsung GN5, same as the previous generation. As for the front camera, it has been upgraded compared to the last model. The sensor size has been upgraded from 1/3.14 to 1/2.88. And now, the main highlight, the continuous optical zoom periscope telephoto lens. As for its sensor, it has been upgraded from the Samsung HP2 in the previous 15 Ultra to the HP1. Looking at the specs, both are 200MP sensors, and both feature a 1/1.4 sensor size. So, what is the main difference? It is that the 17 Ultra now supports continuous optical zoom. Now, let's take apart this periscope telephoto module and see what its internal structure looks like. To show you how it works after being powered on, I need to disassemble the casing, while keeping the internal structure intact, which is quite a challenge. Okay, after a lot of effort, I finally managed to remove it. Let's compare its size with the Pura 80 Ultra S dual focal length module. Both look impressively large, relatively speaking. Huawei's module is even longer. When shaken, the OIS rattling on both is incredibly loud. but the noise indicates a longer optical path, which is actually a good sign. Now, let's examine the mechanical principles. Xiaomi's continuous optical zoom periscope consists of 4 main sections. The first part on the left is the right-angled reflective prism. You can see that it supports significant movement along both the X and Y axes. It is primarily used for image stabilization, OIS. The sensor is positioned vertically on the right side. The sensor itself has no stabilization, it relies entirely on the prism on the left. The second part is the front lens group. Upon testing, I found it doesn't slide. The third part is the large slide rail, which contains 2 lens groups. As this rail slides from end to end, it achieves 75 to 100 mm continuous optical zoom. If you look closely, there is a smaller guide rail nested within the larger one. It provides real-time focus compensation based on the movement of the main rail, ensuring the focus always lands perfectly on the sensor. This lens assembly is truly a masterpiece of engineering and technical beauty. As for why Xiaomi didn't opt for a wide zoom range, like Sony, s3.5x to 7.1x optical zoom, it is mainly because continuous optical zoom is heavily restricted by the phone's internal space. Sensor size and zoom range are essentially a trade-off. Sony's range is impressive, but the sensor is tiny, so the image quality falls apart in low light conditions. Xiaomi's approach is a high-quality solution that finds the right balance. Huawei's dual focal length system takes the opposite approach to Xiaomi's. In Huawei's lens assembly, the movable part is the initial prism we mentioned, while the rear lens groups remain fixed. Alright, let's take another look at this dual focal length design and Xiaomi's continuous optical zoom. It is stunning. I love seeing this kind of technical diversity and competition in the industry. Now, let's remove the motherboard. I have to praise the coaxial cables on the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. They've been replaced by these flat ribbon cables. This design means there is no need to mill a groove into the frame. Normally, to accommodate coaxial cables, a slot must be carved into the mid-frame. By avoiding that, Xiaomi keeps the frame as a solid piece, which results in higher structural integrity for the chassis. With the motherboard out, you can see a massive cutout in the center. This is reserved for the large camera module. And as expected, when viewed from the side, the motherboard utilizes a double-stacked PCB design. The processor is located at the bottom right corner of the motherboard. As for the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, it features the Snapdragon 8 Elite, paired with LPDDR5X, and a top-tier UFS 4.1 storage configuration. Standard flagship specs here, nothing much to add. Looking closely, you can see that other ribbon cable connectors lack rubber gasket protection, except for this specific one. So, why is that? That is because on this battery's connector, there is a dedicated G2 battery management chip. This design approach is something we've previously seen on Huawei's trifold phone. The main goal of this design is to separate the battery protection board from the protection chip. By doing so, the thickness of the protection board area can be reduced, freeing up more internal space for the battery. Xiaomi's implementation this time has gained an extra 110 mAh, which is quite a significant improvement. Okay, now let's dismantle the bottom subboard. Taking off the subboard, this USB port supports USB 3.2 Gen 2 transfer speeds. Removing the bottom speaker, it is an 1115X unit from Goertek, same model used in the Xiaomi 17 Pro. Next, let's remove the haptic motor. This is the 0809E from AAC Technologies. While it maintains the standard 0809 footprint, its thickness has been increased to 4.3 mm. As a result, the haptic feedback is stronger than the previous 0809. Now for the battery, which features a quick-release pull-tab design. The Xiaomi 17 Ultra utilizes a 6800 mAh Jinsha battery. This time, it uses a single-cell, dual-interface design. The manufacturer is NVT Dongguan Technology Co., Ltd. The dimensions of the battery cell are 5.8 mm thick and 70 mm long, with a width of 72 mm. For those looking to upgrade the battery cell, you can use these specs as a reference. Alright, this is the complete layout of all the internal components of the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. Now, let's reassemble the phone. The continuous optical zoom on this Xiaomi 17 Ultra is truly impressive. It really shows that Xiaomi is genuinely pushing the boundaries of innovation. If your budget isn't quite that high, but you still want top-tier imaging performance, the previous generation Xiaomi 15 Ultra is also worth a look. While it lacks continuous optical zoom, it does have an additional upright telephoto lens. And in terms of the focal range, it is actually quite similar to the 17 Ultra. It is also much more affordable now, I checked. And the second-hand price for a Xiaomi 15 Ultra on Zhuanzhuan is only around 3,200 RMB. That is more than 50% off the original launch price of 6,499 RMB. Plus, every phone on Zhuanzhuan undergoes multiple rounds of official quality inspections. So the quality is guaranteed. Alright, the reassembly is almost complete. Take one last look at this continuous optical zoom. It is absolutely stunning.